the Global Energy Manager of Almac Group. So basically, my job responsibility is to lead Almac's net zero strategy and energy conservation program across the globe. So today I would like to talk about the road to net zero for Almac, and it will be really helpful for other companies as well. So in the global carbon emission scenario, pharmaceutical industries have a major role because 4.4 studies shows that 4.4% of the global emission is directly generated by the pharma industries, and the estimated CO2 equivalent is approximately 52 million metric ton. So if you consider as a single industry, it is the ratio of carbon emission per million dollar generated is greater than the automobile industry. So we are a significant contributor to the global emission. So it is really important for the net zero actions or the climate actions plan. Pharma industries needs to reduce their global emissions. So let's talk about some of the reporting standards. Some of the major reporting standards available right now. The first standard is CSRD, which is Corporate Sustainability Reporting Directive that recently launched, and by 2024, most of the large companies in European Union needs to comply with the CSRD standards. And it's an updated version of the non-financial reporting directives, which is already applicable for the European Union companies. And it will be, as I said earlier, it will be take effect in 2024 financial year. And the second one is TCFD, which is Task Force on Climate Related Financial Disclosure, which has been started to give a guidance on companies to disclosing climate related risk and financial risk to the investors and lenders, insurers, and other stakeholders. And now it is applicable to most of the large companies across the Europe and US, and it's a widely accepted sustainability reporting standards. The third one is CDP, which is formerly known as Carbon Disclosure Project. It has a participation of 23,000, more than 23,000 companies across the globe. It's include the global environmental disclosures. It has a questionnaires which you need to answer, and it will give you scores after verifying and evaluating your response to the program. The fourth one is, which I think is acting as a global trend right now, is the SBTi, which is Science Based Target Initiative. It is a bit different from all the three sustainability reporting standards. Science-based SBTi is mainly focusing on the greenhouse gas emission reductions goal. You need to set the goal and submit it for the verification, and they will verify, and they will evaluate your progress through CDP program. So it's a combination of CDP. Even though SBTi is a different entity, it will evaluate your performance through CDP program. In my experience, I could see most of our clients, encouraging us to be part of SBTi verified company by 2025. So in UK, the TCFD, CDP, and SBTi is the major sustainability reporting standards, or standards for the companies, especially the large and medium scale companies. So since I mentioned SBTi is the new trend, let's talk a bit more about the SBTi target reporting, because it has 4 stages. And the first stage is, of course, commit. You need to send a letter to SBTi stating that your company is ready to commit to the SBTi standards. As far as Almac, we are an SBTi standard committed company from 2023 June. And the second phase of SBTi reporting is develop a target for your organization, which is for me is the most essential activities on the SBTi target reporting. So you need to develop on your emission reduction plan and emission reduction targets, which is which should be aligned with the climate science-based criteria, SBTi criteria. Almac net zero plan is well aligned with SBT's criteria. So we do have two publicly announced target. One is reducing our carbon emission by 50%, scope 1, scope 2 emission by 50% by 2030. And the second, which is the long-term reduction plan, which is reducing our uh, to achieve net zero by 2045. These are the two targets for Almac. Uh, and the third phase of SBTA target reporting is submit. So you need to develop your SBTA targets, and you need to submit that to SBTA within 24 months after signing your commitment letter. Almac is planning to submit the commitment letter. I mean the target by end of mid to end of 2024. And the fourth stage is really important for SBTA, which is communication. So once you are committed, and once you get a target committed from the SBTA, you need to communicate your SBTA target confirmation through your external stakeholders and your internal communication protocols and through your clients, which is really important for SBTA target reporting. So what are the time frame, and what are the major pharma companies championing about? Uh, in my experience in the industry, most of the pharma companies are trying to achieve 100% of renewable electricity by 2025/2030. Uh, so as I mentioned earlier, tackling the scope 2, which is the renewable electricity part, is the easiest. So they are really trying hard to get benefit from the low hanging fruits. So nowadays, most of the companies, even including Almac, we are focusing on the renewable electricity part. So reducing your electricity, which will reduce your carbon emission to approximately more than 50%. And most of the clients of us, they really want us to be an SBTA verified company by 2025. That's one thing I have seen common in different industries as well. So I worked in food industry and steel industries as well. So that I can see the trend there. Even in the real estate industry also, I can see the trend there. Everybody is forcing their customers, and their vendors, and it has been cascaded to their vendors. So everybody wants to their vendors to be vendors or suppliers to be an SBTA verified company by 2025. And one thing common about all the industries and all the suppliers and the vendors, is that they all want to be a net zero company by 2045. So that, which is very much achievable. Only thing is that we need to have a good grip on our scope 3 emission, which I believe will um, get intensified by end of 2030. So you can see these 2 decades as in a way that, okay, till 2023 to 2030, the companies will be heavily focusing on SBTI and the renewable electricity part, and then they will definitely shift their program to heat reduction, which is by that time the hydrogen technologies may mature enough to be an applicable program. Um, so and the AI could artificial intelligence could lot of contributions towards collecting and analyzing the data, which is going to be a huge game changer in the scope 3 calculations as well. So this slide, and for the coming slides, we'll be talking about what Almac is doing, what are our CSR responsibility in Almac. Uh, Way before, Almac always tried to take care of people and protect our the planet and make positive impact to our communities. So we, strongly believe in the people, planet, place protocol, and the today's discussion is mainly based on the net zero and the carbon part of that. Um, so so let's talk brief about our net zero strategy and how we are going to achieve that. So the first step is very important, and LMAC already identified that the measurements and KPIs are always important for LMAC, and the transparency in the data and transparency in disclosing the data is really a key factor for LMAC. As I mentioned earlier, uh, mid of this year, we already committed to SBTA standards, and all our targets and carbon emission data has been publicly announced through our CSR report. So we are actively participating in the Northern Ireland specific business in community, um, and our annual KPA has been reported and produced, not only in the carbon emission. All other business units and business level emissions, we report our KPAs. Um, and our target, as I mentioned, our targets and performance has been publicly available, which is shared in multiple platforms and in our CSR report. So, and we are actively engaged with the EcoVadis CDP program, and all our European sites are ISO 50001 certified. We got our ISO 50001 certification for the Singapore recently. So that shows that we are not only focusing on the carbon reduction plan, we are focusing on the energy reduction programs as well. So what's our path to net zero? So how we are going to achieve this? So as I mentioned earlier, we are focusing on the 100% electricity being generated from our renewable resources. So that's our key focus now. So we we sign up almost sign up for a big, it's approximately 3.5 megawatt solar system in our headquartered in Craigavon site. uh, and we are in advanced talk with companies to get our first virtual power purchase agreement, and which will be hopefully will be signed off by next year beginning. And so, and in US, we are planning to buy purchase renewable energy credits, which we think which is more attractive on when we done a feasibility on the cost analysis. When we done a cost analysis feasibility study and the technical feasibility study, we found out that okay, purchasing the renewable credits, electricity credits, will be more attractive for us. So by doing this kind of step, we hope by by 2030 we will be reducing our we'll be uh, shifting our electricity consumption more than 80 percentage from renewable energy sources. um, and d- Along with that, we are working with our suppliers to set targets on emission reduction. We are about to start our supplier engagement program, so we are encouraging our suppliers to be part of um, um, CDP, EcoVadis, and SBTA program. Um, and we are engaged with external bodies such as Energies. Energies is a platform by Schneider Electric, which is more like an educational platform, and you can know more about the PPA programs for the pharmaceutical industries, and you can be partnered with them to have PPA programs through Energies program as well. And so we already talked about the ISO 50001. As I mentioned, all our European business units and the Singapore business units are ISO 50001 certified organizations. So that help us to identifying and implementing energy saving initiatives across the sites. And the second phase will be mainly focusing on the heat reduction program and switching of natural gas to electricity or other less uh, you know um, fossil fossil fuels. So initially we are planning to change some of our gas combustion plants to electric combustion plants, and we are keenly focusing on the observing the hydrogen maturity of the hydrogen programs and the availability of hydrogen in the market. So we are focusing on the hydrogen technologies as well. So I believe it will be a combination of hydrogen plus electricity for the heat generation for LMAC. So this is our net zero map. So as you can see here, our baseline is 2019, which we already quantified our scope 1, 2, 3 emissions for the 2019, and we kind of have a swift start in a hard start in 2023. So we signed up a couple of projects, which is not only the solar projects. We are engaged in energy reduction projects such as LED lights and uh, HVAC optimization. We are engaged with those kind of projects as well. So by 2030, we will be reducing our scope 1, 2 emission by 50%, and we call that era as an then we will intensify our journey from there. So by that time we will be more focusing on the scope 3 as well. So we'll be starting our supplier engagement program by next year beginning. So and it will reduce the scope 3 emission, and um, and we will intensify the intensify the scope 1 emission reduction, which is related to the natural gas emission reduction. So that will allow us to reach our net zero target by 2045. So by 2040, we hope we will be reducing up to 85 to 90 percentage. And as you all agree, the last 10 to 5 to 10 percentage is the critical part, emission to reduce. So we will be having a calibration program, and we will be having minute emission reduction programs in that. So we will be focusing on um, reducing that 5 to 10 percentage on by 2040, and hopefully by 2045 we will reduce our global emission by 95 more than 95 percentage, and be a net zero company by then. Thank you.